We'll start with a meditation in this session. And in the last session we looked at anger and attachment. And we said we needed to have a short-term and a long-term strategy. So we'll reflect on some options of how to deal with anger in the short term and the more long term. So let's do that. So we begin by preparing the body, setting it into a state of relaxation, stillness, and vigilance. So vigilant posture is to keep the back nice and straight, and at the same time allow the entire body to become completely relaxed, completely at ease. Allowing the breathing to flow naturally and effortlessly. And allowing the mind to come to rest in the present moment. Focusing on the sensations of the breath throughout the body. So let's now have a look at some ways of dealing with anger. So remember, anger is defined as a mental factor that sees its object as unattractive. It exaggerates the object's unattractiveness and then wishes to harm the object. So when we're applying antidotes to anger, we're not trying to suppress the anger, but rather to see the situation in a different perspective so that the anger simply dissolves. So first, think of a situation where you got angry or frustrated when something didn't turn out the way you'd expected. And bring the situation clearly to mind. And then ask yourself, could I have done something about that situation? If we can do something to change a situation, there's no need to get angry. Simply change it, fix it. And if there's nothing we can do to change the situation, what's the use in getting angry? It doesn't help. Now think of a situation where you got angry when someone else criticized you. And then ask yourself, was their criticism valid? If what they said was true, why get angry? Because they're giving us the chance, the opportunity to correct our faults and to improve ourselves. And if what they said was, if their criticism was untrue, since they're totally mistaken, we can simply ignore what they're saying. And regardless of the fact whether their criticism was valid or not, they are providing us the opportunity to practice patience. So in fact, they're being very kind to us. Now think of a situation where you got angry in a conflict with another person. And try to picture the scene very clearly. Now, instead of looking at the situation from your own perspective, assume the perspective of the other person. Try to imagine how the situation would look to them. When we try to understand their viewpoint, we can see that they're just like us, wanting to be happy, wanting to be free of suffering. And that due to their confusion and mental afflictions, they're just creating suffering for themselves and the people around them. So in this way, by distinguishing the person from their behaviour, we can begin to develop compassion for the person. And if their behaviour is inappropriate, we can address that behaviour without attacking the person. Now think of a situation where you often get irritated or frustrated. And allow some irritation or frustration to arise. Now, instead of focusing on the situation, look directly at the irritation or frustration itself. Observe that irritation or frustration. Don't try to push it away. What does it look like? Is it something solid and concrete, or is it constantly changing? What we notice is that when we look at it directly, it simply dissolves. Now think of a person who makes you irritated. And picture them very clearly in front of you. and then mentally dissect that person and try to pinpoint exactly what is it that makes you irritated. Is it something that they say that makes you irritated? If so, words are just sounds. So which particular sound is irritating? Perhaps it's something that they do that is irritating. Physical actions are simply movements of the body. So which particular movement is irritating? Or perhaps it's just their appearance that is irritating. Appearances are just colours and shapes. So which particular colour or shape is irritating? So investigating in this way, we can see that it is our mind that creates the irritating person by interpreting the situation in a certain way and then applying the label irritating or annoying. And then we go on to confuse our concept of the person for the person themselves. And we see them as inherently irritating. So in conclusion, recognize that by engaging in these reflections repeatedly, relating them to situations in our life, we can clear up a lot of anger and frustration. And we can develop a more healthy way of looking at things. And make a strong determination to do so.